Hi everyone, and welcome to our VALUE4HER TalkCorner. This is the 23rd of April, 2024. We are happy to have you on board. I can see many of you are streaming in. We can give it a few minutes just to have as many as possible, as many as those that registered to join us before we formally start. Welcome everybody. We are happy to have you. And even as you join, we would encourage you that you kindly briefly introduce yourself in the chat. Your name, where you're joining us from. It would be great to have that information. We will not have an opportunity to do a verbal introduction, but we will appreciate if you could drop in your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. Welcome everyone. As you continue to join, kindly just drop in your name and where you're joining us from. In the chat, we won't have an opportunity to have introductions individually, but it would be great to know who we have on board. Thank you everyone who has already registered. Good afternoon to you all. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Kindly continue introducing yourselves on the chat. We hope to start in the next few. So as you join, kindly just introduce yourself in the chat before we formally begin. I can see we are having people joining us all the way from France. Feel welcome. All the way from California, the US, feel welcome. Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda. From Benin, from Mozambique. Welcome, welcome to our session today. We will give it a few minutes to have as many as we can on the call. Thank you to all who have already joined. We're probably not going to wait for everyone who had registered to come in. And for the sake of time, I believe it's a good time to begin. The rest can join us online. We will keep reminding them to just come in and introduce themselves. To the rest of our participants, you can also just take a look at the chat box to see who has joined. You may make your connections, start networking as well. So I would like to take this opportunity just to open this session officially. even as the rest are allowed to come in. So to start with, we are grateful that you're able to create time to come and join us today. My name is Winnie Osula, and I am the Gender Integration Lead at AGRA. I am based out of the Nairobi office, and it is my honorable duty to welcome you to this session. I will also be the moderator of the session of today. Just to bring up to speed on the matters of housekeeping, we would like as very much as possible that if anyone has a question, they raise up their hands and we will keep a tab on that and give you an opportunity to speak. If you have a question, we have a question and answer box. Use that to put your questions, because if you put them in the chat box, we may not be able to to access them. They may get mixed up in the rest of the messages and all of us who are still introducing themselves. So we will request that you use the question and answer box to just make sure that your question, we keep a tab of your questions. Those questions probably will be to the panel or even to us as AGRA. We do appreciate questions coming, but just make sure that they're in the right place so that we do not miss out on anything. I think today, most of you, as you read the invitation, you probably have an idea why we are here today. But our main objective is actually to listen to the voices of these women who have grown in agribusiness, and they have some lessons to share with us today. Some of these lessons could be around the challenges they've experienced, and more so how they navigated those challenges. And we're also hoping to hear a little bit more on the kind of lessons that they have had along that journey that can inform how some of us who are already in this call can also leverage on. It's all about learning. It's all about leveraging on our experiences and just moving forward as a team. So without much ado, I think I would like to jump us into the session and once more feel welcome to this session. We will start by introductions, and introductions will be limited to our panelists. The rest of us kindly continue using the chat box so that we get to know who is in, where you're joining us from. And I will want to introduce our honored guests today. And I would ask them actually to put on their cameras so that you can put a name, a face to that name, and those accomplishments as well. So I would like to start with Monica. Monica, if you could put on your camera, please.
Good afternoon. Can you see me and hear me? I dropped out a little bit there. Perfect. Yeah, I had just dropped out for a little bit.
Sorry
Good afternoon, everybody.
That.
Yeah, I'm Monica Musonda. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Java Foods. We are the manufacturers of award-winning easy instant noodles, which we export into Zim, Malawi, and hopefully soon into Tanzania. We've been making the noodles from 100% locally sourced wheat, which is something we're very proud of. It's a very high quality product because we get our products locally. So we're really proud of this. And our target market has fundamentally been a very young population, which is actually very common across the continent. So this is something we have pioneered in our part of the market. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Monica. What I want to give the audience is that Monica is also a corporate lawyer who has turned out to be an entrepreneur. And I think that is something that is really interesting. As she has already told you, she is the CEO of Java Foods, which is a Zambian-based food processing FMCG company, which she founded herself. I think that's a beautiful thing to do. Her leadership and vision has grown Java Foods into the leading independent instant noodle manufacturer in the Southern Africa. By 2025, her vision is to transform the business to one of the leading packaged food manufacturers in the region. She is one of the only women in Zambia that runs a manufacturing business at scale. So I think those are things we need to take note of and learn from. How did she do it? What are the kind of challenges she went through? What can we learn from her experience? Monica is currently serves as a non-executive director on a number of boards, including Airtel Networks, PLC, and Zambian Breweries, where she is currently the chairperson. She is the recipient of the 2017 African Agribusiness Entrepreneur of the Year Award, that is VALUE4HER, and which is an award conferred annually to agripreneurs who have demonstrated outstanding achievement in agricultural input and value addition in Africa. She is a young global leader and Archbishop Desmond Tutu Leadership Fellow. Forbes magazine and Africa Investor named her as one of the leading young power women in business in Africa. I think that is quite an achievement, and we are hoping to learn more from you. Thank you so much, Monica. I would like to invite the next speaker, and that is Sahiba Rashid. Sahiba, if you could just speak a little bit to the audience before I give you the grand introduction.
Thank you so much. It's honestly such an honor and a pleasure to be speaking to you all, and especially alongside amazing ladies like Monica and Edith, whom I cannot wait to hear more of their journeys and learn from them, hopefully. So my name is Sabiha Rashid. I'm the co-founder of a health food brand in Tanzania. And our company is called Rosho because primarily what we do is add value to local Tanzanian cashews, which are called korosho in Swahili. And for us, it's mainly to really revolutionize healthy eating so that it's super healthy, but also super delicious. And as a brand, we really want to also sell not just a product, but also a feeling. So when you're eating Rosho, you feel like you're a certain type of person, a person that's active, that's mindful, that's environmentally conscious, all of these really important values that are growing in awareness of them, but that we really need a lot more of so that we can be a much more thriving community and a world community that's thriving. And yeah, I think adding value to Tanzanian cashews is the key to what we really want to be able to achieve. Thank you.
And thank you, Sahiba. And what she didn't tell you people is that she's a fourth generation Tanzanian and a graduate in political science and international relations from the University of Birmingham. She co-founded the Tanzania's first cashew butter company during the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. She saw that as an opportunity and she went for it. With a mission to blend wholesomeness and deliciousness, just like she has told you, her company produces a range of delectable offerings from cashew butter to energy bars and chocolate clusters. Beyond creating tasty alternatives, the venture is dedicated to adding value to local Tanzanian produce and fostering employment opportunities. She's not only giving the population something tasty to eat, but she's also creating employment opportunities, and particularly for women in the community. Sahiba embodies resilience and entrepreneurship, leaving an indelible mark on Tanzania's culinary landscape. Congratulations, Sahiba, for all those achievements, and thank you for joining us as a speaker today. And on to our last but not least speaker, because we'll be having more speakers coming your way in the course of the year. I invite Edith to come to put on her camera. Give us a brief before I give the rest of the audience a deep introduction of who you are. Unfortunately, Edith's camera may not come on, but at least you'll be able to hear her voice. Edith, please.
Good afternoon, thank you. I'm still struggling with my camera. Sorry, so unfortunately you won't be able to see my face for now. We are still working on it to get it working. I'm Edith Akusang-Wheatland, the founder and CEO of Rockland Farm. Rockland Farms was established in 2013 with a vision to develop the best poultry value chain in Ghana. We're into the production of commercial table eggs, broiler production, mentoring for the youth and women, alternative livelihood for youth and women, and also into support. We support the disabled as well. We are into the outgrower of maize and outgrower of poultry. We are currently doing broiler production, where we are with the brand Akoko Tasty that we are selling on the market. And our sister company we are also into the production of commercial feed. Yeah, that's it.
Edith, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. So I'm struggling.
Yeah. Okay.
It's about to rain and the network is also bad.
No, it's all right. I can complete the introduction for you. I just needed the audience to hear your voice before you come back to answer a few questions for them. And I think you're really being mean with your achievements, so I will give them a deep dive into who you really are. Edith Whitland is the CEO of a successful integrated poultry company in Ghana. I think she's being very mean with what her achievements are. Today I want to tell us everything. And she's well known for her support for women, her advocacy for youth empowerment, as well as people living with disabilities, and her commitment to taking concrete steps through her livelihood programs to ensure that rural children have access to good nutrition in school. Her enterprise consists of a poultry farm with 100,000 chickens, a processing facility, and a commercial feed milling company. The newest product line from Rockland Farms, Akoko Tasty, is currently Ghana's most popular packaged, locally produced, pre-cut chicken. Rockland Meat's processing capacity currently stands at 12,000 birds per week, employing more than 100 rural youth and women, in addition to several hundreds more along the production chain. The company's well-packaged chicken brand, Akoko Tasty, is leading the way in making the locally produced chicken more commercially viable through innovative thinking, constant improvements, and the generous support from partners. This is giving the local chicken market the leverage it needs to expand sustainably. Edith Whitland is Ghana's current national best female farmer. She also is a co-awardee of the Feed the Future Accelerating Women Entrepreneurs Prize for Promising Business Ventures in 2018. Those are her accomplishments, and when she spoke, she barely mentioned all that. So you can see, thank you so much, Edith. You can see the kind of caliber of speakers we have brought forth to you today. And I think it is now time that we give them a round of applause. We can do that virtually, clapping, thumbs up, wherever suits you in the audience. They need to feel appreciated and welcomed as well. Thank you very much for those that are responding. And as we continue to do that, I want us to dive in. And just a reminder that if you have any questions, kindly put them in the question and answer chat box. If you need to ask a question or to seek anything, kindly raise up your hand and we will give you an opportunity. So let's just make sure that all our mics are also off so that we can give the speakers ample time to talk to us, to share their experiences with us. Okay, so if you allow me, I would want to dive in. And for the speakers, if you can, when you're speaking, you can have your cameras on, except for Edith that has been having trouble. We wish we could help you resolve that, but it is all okay. A reminder to those that are still joining, kindly do put your name and where you're joining us from in the normal chat box. The question and answer chat box is only for questions that we will endeavor to answer as we move along. So at this moment, I would like to give an opportunity for my other colleagues also to introduce themselves. I have colleagues who we work with very closely on this initiative, and I think it's best that you also hear their voices.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lee from Agri.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Chepkoech. I work in the gender unit.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Lee. These are my colleagues here that we work together with in delivering this kind of services to you. So I think at this moment, we can now dive in and just bring back our speakers with a few questions. How this is going to happen is we have a set of questions that we would like to ask them, and they can share their experiences, they can share how they've gone about their journey into where they are today. But at the same time, towards the end, we are going to allow you as the audience to ask some questions, which they will endeavor to answer as well. But even as we do that, if as they speak and you have a question, you don't have to wait to ask that question at the end. You can put it in the question and answer box, and we will endeavor to do that, to answer them. So the first question goes to Monica. Monica, are you ready for me? Hi, Monica.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for you. You're the one starting us off today. And my question is, over a decade ago, you made a huge leap from your legal career to set up Java Foods. What challenges did you experience at the time in terms of access to capital? Do you think the same challenges resonate with women in agribusiness trying to access finance today? First is how you took that leap and the kind of challenges you experienced.
Sure. No, thanks for that. And thank you for actually making it broader than just access to finance. I think definitely access to finance remains a key challenge for many businesses, particularly women-run businesses. But for myself, I think what was key when I started the business was to really look at whether or not it could actually be a business. Was it very possible for us to look at the local raw materials and process a high quality food, which people will be willing to pay for, and that shops were willing to buy and put on a shelf? And I think that was fundamentally very important for me. And I had to actually really think and look at the market and look at the opportunities which were available and really understand what's going on. What we're seeing a lot of, or what we were seeing a lot of then, was the focus around convenience foods. The fact was that people were very busy, and were eating differently from what they were doing 10, 15 years ago. And we were then trying to focus on this new sort of a younger target market, which didn't have a lot of money. So we're definitely looking for much more affordable foods, and who are shopping much closer to home, in environments, in their neighborhoods, and sometimes in supermarkets, sometimes in markets. And so we really had to think around what kind of product would suit this target market. And we also then had to look at the raw material, because we really were focused on looking at locally sourced raw materials. I mean, my fundamental shift to come back to build a business was to really support the development of my own country, and was to look at how we could process more foods using what was available. So it wasn't that we were trying to bring in new products. We really wanted to use what was available. And the great thing about Zambia, where I come from, is that we grow food pretty well. So we do see yields of maize, soybean, wheat, barley, peanuts grow year on year. But what we were not seeing was more packaged foods. We were still importing a lot of foods. And so that was where the grand idea came from. And then the next stage was, of course, was how to scale, to build this grand idea, how to finance the idea, and how to actually sell. So we had a lot of challenges. I mean, personally, I have a legal background, and I had not lived in my home country for over 14 years. And it was really trying to understand how the market wanted to buy a product, how much they would spend on food, when they would spend on food, where they would shop, how to get paid. You know, it was all these things I had to understand. And then also even understanding when I would get paid. So that was one of my key learnings. I assumed that, you know, when you sell a product to a supermarket, you got paid right away. And that then would fund how you operated the business. And then came the question that when it was very different, how was I going to finance the working capital of the business? And at the time, it was really very difficult because it was very difficult for banks to finance startups, particularly a startup which was perhaps, you know, not being pioneered by someone who knew the sector well. So I came in and they discounted me because I had no experience in fast-moving consumer goods, had no experience in processing, had never sold any packaged food, and I just had this great idea and was, you know, great tenacity and energy to sell. So it actually meant that we had to finance the business for the first few years using personal savings and actually friends and family so who supported me. And I think this is a lot of people's story today, that in the early years you are possibly very unlikely to be able to walk into a bank and actually finance your business in an affordable way, and you have to really show some traction. I still believe that's one of the key challenges today, but as I've said, I think what's happening today is that there probably are more sources for financing. We are now seeing a lot more grants coming in. We are seeing a lot more interest about funding female-run businesses, but it's still not enough. And I would like to add that, Winnie, it is one of the challenges, but there are several, and I kind of mentioned that. It is really understanding what the market needs, what the market is willing to pay for, and if you can really scale this. It's really a great idea to have a passion in the food sector, but is it a business? Can it grow? Can it scale? And I think those are some of the issues that we really need to battle, alongside things like, you know, making sure food is safe to eat and sell, you know, is it a long shelf life, and all those sorts of issues. So I think I'll stop here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. It's all about, it's always possible to do it even if you don't have that background, so long as you have the right idea that someone can buy into, something that can be implemented. And what you're saying is also interesting. Use what is available. Sometimes you don't always have to reinvent the wheel, but we can always work with what is available. And of course, I think this is a story for many of us. The first funding comes from the family, somehow. Yeah, but at least it's a source of funding. And thank you for that. I have a follow-up question, especially looking at, and you talked a little bit about your branding. And this is about you know, the power and role of branding and marketing. And I have a question in that area. Easy is easily one of the biggest fortified food brands in Zambia and the region, right? What role would you say branding and marketing has played in its growth from the startup days till now? And where in the order of priorities would you advise other women flighting their products, you know, to place them?
I mean, marketing is all over. I've got it right behind me, right? Look, I think the simple answer to your question is that, particularly if you're an FMCG, if you're selling a consumer good, you're not going to be able to sell it unless people see it, understand what it is, understand the benefit to them and why they need to be buying it. And that's what marketing does. Marketing tells you, unpacks a product, tells you the benefit of it. Is it value for money? Does it have a special ingredient? For instance, for us, there are several noodle brands on shelf, but we really speak about fortification because it's one of our unique selling points. Not all noodle companies put nutrition as part of their vision and mission, but it's something we talk about. It's something that's core to us, but it forms part of our strategy and how we speak to our consumer. So marketing is very important because it also allows people to see you, understand what kind of business you are, and also tells a story. I think later on in my entrepreneurial journey, I realized that people buy something that is related to them, that they understand, that they're close to. So for us, when we speak about Zambian brands, we talk about Zambian brands which are relatable to people's personal situation. So they say Easy relates to them because we sell a pack size that suits their pocket. Easy relates to them because we sell flavors that they are aware of and are used to. So Zambia is landlocked, for instance. We do not sell a seafood flavor because many Zambians have never eaten seafood. Again, it's a really important point. It is something because we understand you, we are you, and we understand what you're going through. We sell you what you want. And that's what marketing does. And it is a priority. I think for many years, my biggest struggle was I didn't have enough working capital to grow the brand. And then we saw that we struggled because people didn't know who we were. In fact, people didn't even know that we were a Zambian brand because they didn't see us and we didn't talk about it. So marketing and branding to help create market, to create enthusiasm, to storytell, to create loyalty, love and passion is really important. And that's why you see a lot of brands over a few years change their taglines, change their focus. And that's what we should do as food companies, because you remember you're selling something and you have to convince that person to give you that 2 kwacha or 2 shillings or 2 cedis. And the best way to do that is to speak to them through really smart branding and marketing that relates to them.
Interesting. I'm also hearing about, it's about people's preferences and meeting that need. It's about the taste that they want to have to create that loyalty. But at the same time, I'm hearing capital or access to, having the financial muscle to do your marketing campaign really matters. But it's about how does your product relate to people, your target market for that matter. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And it's also just about the kind of visibility you create about these items that you're trying to push to the market. Yeah, thank you so much for how you've responded to that. But again, it's not always just, looking at one product line or one service line, but sometimes a business needs diversification. And on that growth path, in addition to the noodles, I also understand that you ventured into fortified breakfast cereals and stew mixes. So at what point did you decide to diversify your product portfolio? And is this something you would advise other women to look out for before making the leap into different products and services? What is it that you tell other women who would want to diversify from, their main product line?
So I think what's key is really understanding your business well, understanding what it is that is driving the revenue, right? Driving your shift of skill and expertise. I think, for instance, for us, it's probably very unlikely that you'll see Java do juices. It's just not our expertise. And so even though it may sell very well, we just don't have that expertise. So when you look at diversification and innovation, I think for my advice to anyone is to really look at your strengths, to see, also understand the market. Is there room for another cereal brand? Is there room for any other product? And can you do it well? Because the worst thing we want to do is enter a space where there are others and you're unable to excel because you don't have the technical expertise, or you're not properly capitalized to grow a brand, because remember, you're new in that sector. You're not able to get the shelf space in which to sell it. You're not able to market and brand it. And all these things you have to consider as you think about innovation, about introducing new product lines. Also, I think make sure your first product is your anchor, that it's strong enough to survive whilst you focus on something else. That this brand is, racing, it's able to produce enough revenue, it doesn't require too much oversight while you now nurture a new product line. So those are the kind of things I always think about. How much executive time and talent will it take for us to get this other product on the line? Will our leading brand suffer? Do we really need to be doing it at this time? Is the supply chain safe? Meaning, if I'm doing a peanut butter, is there going to be a problem next year with peanuts that this brand will die just before it actually grows up because I can't get the products that I need? Or is it really difficult to get even the bottle tops, things that really make the brand? So you really have to ask the questions around, first of all, will the market buy it? Is there space for a new brand? Do we have capacity to grow the brand? And are we able to deliver every day on time at the right price to the market?
Great. Thank you so much. What I'm getting is about what is driving revenue, and at the same time, do you have the technical expertise to venture into that new market? Are you able to sustain yourself within that new market? Probably it's about also just doing a market research to understand if you really fit in that space and if you can make a breakthrough. Thank you so much. I would like to give you a little break and just, also engage the other speakers, the two other speakers that are still remaining. But for this next set, we'll do it a little differently. So it won't be one speaker speaking throughout, but just trying to alternate between the two of them so that we have a feel of the speakers that are in the house today. I noticed that we don't have so many questions in the question and answer box, but I'm noticing that some questions are coming through the chat box. Please, our audience, kindly try to put your questions in the question and answer space so that we do not lose track of them. Sahiba, are you still there with us?
Yes, I'm right here.
And Edith as well. But as Edith prepares to come, I have a question for you, Sahiba. And I hope that our audience, you've taken note of what our first speaker has spoken about, how she's shared her experience, and whatever questions you have for her, we can address those towards the end. So for you, Sahiba, please briefly tell us about what you offer at Rochelle. I know you said a little bit earlier, but you could delve into that. And then as a follow-up, you also recently signed a deal to distribute your products to outlets in Germany and in Switzerland for a company that did not start too long ago. How did you decide it was time to go global? And how can other women maneuver the risks involved in making such a move? So just tell us a little bit about what you do, what you offer at Rochelle, and how you're venturing into the global market.
Thank you. So actually, it's also quite an interesting story of how we even started this brand. So, when I got married 5 years ago, my husband and I were talking about how we'd love to spend all the time in the world that we could together. And the perfect situation for that would be if we started a business together. So I remember on our honeymoon, we were planning, different things that we could do together. And we had lots of ideas, but for a couple of years, we didn't really venture into anything. And then we started working on exporting of local produce from Tanzania. And I think the timing was just so terrible because as soon as we decided to launch our export company for sending avocados and cashews to Dubai, COVID hit and all the flights shut and we weren't able to actually start that business. And we ended up having to bury tons of avocados under the ground, but we had lots of cashews sitting around. And, it was a period where I was watching tons of Shark Tank and, just really trying to rein into my inner entrepreneur that I really was struggling to find at that point. And it was literally at 2 a.m. one night when I wake my husband up and I'm like, I think I have an idea. And he was like, go to sleep. And so I was like, we have all these cashews sitting around. Let's make a business out of these cashews. I can add value to them. I can make cashew butter. So I started doing that from home and started an Instagram business in a city that I was new to. And I think, Monica spoke a lot about marketing. I think that's something that we really, really try to work very hard on as well. And we saw the results immediately because people didn't know me, but they saw the product and they loved it. And we just started getting lots and lots of inquiries. And I was like burning up food processors in my house, like nobody's business. Until in the start, my husband wasn't sure if he wanted to be, the guy who sells cashew butter. But when he started seeing that, this is going somewhere, we joined forces and we started up a really small, I wouldn't call it a factory. It was literally just a little food lab or a kitchen, whatever you want to call it. And we started selling from there. And as we went along, we really started to learn so much about the agro space in Tanzania, and that what we do can really have a huge impact on the lives of a lot of people, that we're adding value to a crop that 90% of which is being exported in its raw form, meaning the country is losing tons and tons of jobs that could go primarily to women in the country. So obviously, we naturally started employing women in our factory. And as we started to realize that we're actually changing the lives of these women because, we'd have a couple of permanent employees and then a few temporary employees. The temporary employees were always friends, relatives, neighbors of the permanent employees, and they were always free and available to come to work as and when we needed. What this made us realize was that these women are sitting at home, they have nothing to do until we call them up. And we know that we are changing their lives, because as we go along, as the company grows, most of these temporary employees become permanent employees. And this is really something that's at the core of what we want to be able to achieve. And we know that if Rosho continues to grow and become a much bigger business, we're going to be able to employ a lot more women, process a lot more, and add value to a lot more cashews in Tanzania and really change things up. So going global was really something that would make sense to do. However, we started off as a bootstrapping company. We are still bootstrapping. So we knew from the start that we couldn't be a mass market product because you'd need a lot of financial muscle for that, which we didn't have. So we played it smart and decided that we might as well target a niche and, focus on, creating an expensive product that is very valuable, that we can market to really show the value of. And that made more financial sense from a business point of view. And so we kind of, placed ourselves in areas where we knew that tourists come, for instance. So, in hotels and lodges where the national parks are, where the beaches are. And when these people would have our spreads at the hotels that they would stay at or buy, gifts to take back home, they would message us on Instagram and be like, I had this product when I was in Zanzibar. Where can I find it in Germany? Where can I find it in Switzerland? Where can I find it in France? And we're like, okay, there is actually, a market for this in Europe as well. However, it's really tough to be export ready, especially in a space like Tanzania, where the food value addition scene is very, very underdeveloped, especially when it comes to more advanced products like what we're trying to create. So we've had to do a lot of learning along the way to become export ready. And we had the opportunity to piggyback on another brand that's local and that sells their teas already in Germany. So we did all the work that we could, and it was just an opportunity that came our way, and we took it. So yeah, that's really how it all happened.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think sometimes it's about just venturing out there and doing a trial and seeing how it works. And before you know it, the product is known. And I think it goes back to how do you market so that people can ask for this product everywhere they go. I want to focus a little bit on Edith. Edith, are you there with us? Edith, are you there? And as we wait on Edith, probably we can continue speaking to Sahiba. And Sahiba, you've spoken to us about how you penetrated the global markets, from the need to where you are at the moment. And I just want to see how do you leverage the e-commerce for growth? Because when you go global, then definitely you have to leverage other platforms. You recently launched an online store in Dubai, and are also working with another international e-commerce platform. So have you seen good returns coming out of this venture? And what are the prerequisites that you need, before one can have their products listed with such platforms? And what are the pitfalls, if any?
So Dubai was a similar story for us, where we were getting lots of inquiries, and Dubai is obviously a big goal for a lot of brands because it's a huge market. It's a very exciting market. So so our online store in Dubai actually came about by accident. What happened initially was that we had a distributor who was very interested to sell our products in Dubai. And we went through all the processes of finding out the regulations, starting to work on them, registering at the municipality. It's a very, very rigorous process. And we went through most of it, and then the buyer backed out at the last minute. So, we just thought, we've done all of this work. Let's see, maybe we can launch an online store all by ourselves and, try with that. So we did all of that, and we launched an online store in Dubai. We did a few rounds of influencer marketing. We saw the tremendous results that came out of that. But I think as a business, our priorities were very we had like a struggle with our priorities, like where do we put in our money, at this point. And we felt like the returns that we would see through focusing more on increasing our production capacity at home and improving our systems at home was the priority at that point. So we actually ended up closing our online store in Dubai because when you are able to establish local partners, and a proper distribution channel and systems, it's a lot easier then. So we just felt like we maybe timed it a bit wrongly, but we're really happy that we made that step and we learned so much from that. So for the next time that we, will venture, because Dubai is waiting for us, then we have a lot of lessons that we learned from that whole experience.
Yeah, I think it's so much about that experience. Yeah, what I'm gathering from your sharing is that opportunities do present themselves. So it's about how we check on them. Unfortunately for the Dubai one, the timing wasn't right. So again, we are learning that everything we want to do is the timing right. Is it the right time to venture into that? And of course, the power of networking and the kind of partnerships that you can build can really help to drive your growth, not just in e-commerce, but I think generally. Edith, are you back with us? I suppose we will continue to speak with Sahiba. I have one more question for you as we continue. You've talked to us about how you've penetrated the global market, about your path for e-commerce and growth. Now the partnership development. You've spoken a little bit of working with partners and making sure that your ventures are doing well, but you seem to be really intentional. That's what you're seeing in developing global partnerships to grow. The Roche brand. Where and how do you meet these partners, and how do you perform your due diligence to secure yourself from getting scammed? Right? Could you share a little bit with us briefly?
Sure. However, I feel like the question makes it look like, we are very established and fancy and structured brand, but really we're just learning as we go along. I think we really try not to overcomplicate things. For us, it's really just been about trying to meet as many people as possible, trying to keep our brand as visible as possible. We really bank on networking, being present at important meetings. We don't miss out and ignore any sort of opportunities to network. And it's not always about making money out of these networking opportunities. Sometimes it's really just about learning from other people, different stakeholders in the industry. And sometimes it's really just about having fun. I've met some incredible people that if I hadn't started a business, I would have never known of the diversity that exists in this world in terms of people, what they're doing, their opinions, how much you can learn from their journeys. So most of our partnerships have really come from this, being in incubators, investor meetings, and we've been able to create some really amazing partnerships as a result. We really like to work with people that we can first build a relationship with, and we keep it simple like that. Sometimes we've also partnered with family and friends who have seen what we're doing, taken interest, and had a call with us and been like, oh, maybe I can sell your products in this country. And sometimes it's gone really well. Sometimes you really have to have a partner that's very aggressive in distributing your products elsewhere. If you don't have a presence yourself, we've come to learn. And this has actually really caused us to heavily shift our strategies this year, where we're really focusing on penetrating the Tanzanian market a lot deeper because we're present here on the ground. Export and all of that sounds really fancy, but when you really go to it, it's very, very tough to sell a product to a market where you're not available on the ground yourself, because nobody can sell like you and your team. So that's a huge learning that we've had in the past year. And that's why we've really pivoted with our strategy this year to focus a lot more on the Tanzanian market, and instead of looking more abroad, we're really looking and very keen on penetrating closer markets, Kenya, Rwanda. And we have so much interest. We're having lots of ongoing conversations with stakeholders in these regions. And I think the world is our oyster, but we really want to start with Africa, East Africa, and really go deep in this area.
Yeah, thank you so much. And your conversation is just reminding me of a session I attended yesterday on the power of franchising. And I'm just thinking about having people who can actually drive your product, having the same passion like you have as the owner of the product to drive it out for you. But again, it's about what does the market want, and what is it that you're getting out of it? Yeah, so thank you so much from there. I don't know if we have Edith back, and if we don't, we'll probably move into the next section of this webinar.
Sorry, Winnie, yes, you do have me back.
Oh, great, lovely.
So we've got a rainstorm in our neighborhood currently, so we don't even have power now. So I'm kind of struggling with power, getting my Wi-Fi to work, getting power for my laptop. But I'm here.
And are you able to go on camera, or that is not working yet?
No, even the network is very unstable.
Okay. Yeah, we'll allow you to work off camera. And just the other panelists have really shared great things and insights about their businesses and the journey they've taken, the kind of experiences they've had, the hurdles they've had to face, and how they ventured out of them. So briefly, Edith, can you tell us briefly about your offer at Rockland? And you've also made it part of your business model to work with women, work with young people, the vulnerable groups, and even partnering with development organizations to provide mentoring and business startup for young graduates. For a social perspective, what has been the impact of the model to the community? And from a business perspective, what does that model aid the attracting of more funding? So this question is two-pronged, from a social perspective and also from a business perspective.
Thank you. First of all, we started with Ghana Poultry Project. There was a project funded by the USDA where we mentored the graduates. They were having a 6-month hands-on training mentorship on our farms for the young graduates. And after that, as these individuals were able to launch into their businesses, it became more economically self-sufficient. And we saw the jobs that were being created as a result of the mentorship that they attained from the training. So after a while, Junior, is it still working? The screen has gone.
We can hear you. It's working well.
So from the results from the USDA project, we saw the impact. That is what encouraged us to continue to what we are doing now. So through that, we came with the alternative livelihood support structure for the women in the area where I work, because you had that where you have people knocking on your door for support, and it's like, what can you do to empower them that everybody is not looking up to you? So we came out with the support, providing the women with input to grow the maize to support the poultry farm. And we realized that during the off-season, there is no income for the women that were growing the maize. So we came up with the alternative livelihood support program to support the women so that during the off-season, they have something else doing. And we piloted with 20 women. So far, the smallholder maize outgrowers, we have about 9,000. But we piloted with 20 women. We trained them on how to raise broiler, because the broiler is a short period that they can do during the off-season. For 6 to 7 weeks, the birds were ready for Rockland to process and sell, giving them another income. And whilst they were doing that, we came up with the VSLA, because the farmers are many, and Rockland alone cannot support all of them with the inputs. So the VSLA groups, which is something we piloted under the USDA program, we had 3 groups, but currently we have 200 groups with turnover of 2 million Ghana cedis. So with that, they are able to to buy their own input. So the inputs, they don't all rely on Rockland to provide input for the 9,000. But through the VSLA, they are able to buy the inputs, produce the maize, and then I provide market for them. So.
Yeah, so what I'm gathering is you're making a social impact, especially when you're granting these women alternative livelihood options, putting them into VSLAs where they can have some savings, which they can plow back into what they're doing. And of course, the mentorship that actually ended up in creation of jobs. Yeah, I think that that's a wonderful experience where it is not just business to make money, but at the same time having a social enterprise kind of arm that provides that giving back to the community. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Going forward, we've also learned that you're soon embarking on a trip to Europe, looking for mechanized solutions to expand your processing facility to be able to handle more products. What are the mechanization challenges you have been facing that led you to make this decision? And what are those alternatives that you are actually that are actually available for small businesses that may not necessarily have your level of access to the solutions you are currently seeking?
Currently with the,
yes.
Yeah, with the pilot that we did, we've seen that it's something that it will work. So if you are looking at bringing all the smallholder maize outgrower farmers under the broiler outgrower group, you need a bigger facility. And besides the maize alternative one, we also have the main broiler outgrower groups that are also raising the broilers for us to sell. And for us to accommodate the youth that have shown a lot of interest through the training, we need to mechanize the processing unit that we currently have. We do a lot of manual processing. And to absorb all these 9,000 smallholder farmers, we need to add some automation to it to be able to also meet the demand that we have. Because currently, the market demand that we have, we are not able to meet it. And to be able to meet the market demand, we need to have some sort of mechanization into the processing of the chicken. And especially when it comes to the packaging. You have a lot of the supermarket that have shown interest in taking our products, but they have some issues with the way it's being packaged. And that is one of the reasons why we wanted to go and see what other equipment that are available that can enhance the packaging to meet their standard to be able to supply them.
Yeah, and what I'm gathering from your sharing is that mechanization would actually probably cut down time, especially spent on other things for the women. Remember, women have this triple kind of burden on their time, and that would actually really help so much. And even for you, when it comes to branding and packaging, I think when you mechanize the process, you're making your product even more attractive. But I have another question, a follow-up question for you. How about the pricing? Because you know, many growing women-led businesses usually find it hard to survive, especially in spaces where they're not operating at scale. How do you make sure that your pricing, you can take advantage? How do you make sure that your pricing makes you survive in such a scenario, in such in such a field where others who are operating at scale might be giving lower prices than yourself? How do you survive?
Thank you. And that is, we've joined forces with other stakeholders. You know, like you have these 9,000 smallholder farmers that are producing the maize. So they are producing in volume, and you are providing the input for them to produce the maize. So obviously, it's going to be cost effective there. And with the other inputs that we buy, we join other stakeholders to buy in bulk to be able to benefit on the volumes. So that is how we are surviving.
Is this a model you can encourage other women to adopt, and how?
So you have them So like this, I'll give you a typical example of the soya bean meal that we buy. You have a price range that if you buy 1,000, maybe you are getting it for 2,000. If you buy 5,000 bags, the more you buy, so you just have to join together. The women will have to join together and buy in bulk.
Okay,
So
so
if
it's
they-
about the volumes.
It's about the volumes. Being able to come together to buy in volumes also helps with the pricing.
Great. Yeah, so what I'm catching from you on that is, you know, having large numbers, working in groups and being able to buy in volumes. If, well, you know, if it's one person, probably they may not be able to afford to, you know, get a big number, but when they come together, then they're able to,
Yes.
yeah, to be in the same space with those that are operating at scale. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much. That's an interesting, you know, approach on how you can really control your pricing to make sure that you still remain competitive and operate at, you know, in an environment like that. So I would like to say thank you so much to all our speakers. Those are the kind of engagement we had prepared for you today. But I think we've come to that moment where we'd like to look at what kind of questions we've received and who are they geared towards. I hope in the audience, you had given us quite some questions in the chat, and I want to believe that you are able to move them. And the first question, I need attention from all the speakers, because in a few minutes we'll be coming to the end of this session, but I hope we'll manage to answer as many questions as we can. The first question goes to you, Edith, and you're being congratulated. Well done, you have done such an amazing, you have such an amazing profile. Congratulations on your achievements. They have the following, permit me to ask the following questions. Why women outgrowers? I hope Edith, you can write this down. Why women outgrowers? How do you discover your potential buyers? This person also read on your website that you grew from 8,000 bahts to 100,000 bahts. How do you secure funding for this and any other challenges? That is coming from Bashirat Akan. And I would limit the time you have to answer this question. So if you can make it as quick as you can, please go ahead, Edith. Why women? How do you discover your potential buyers? And how you grew from 8,000 bahts to 100,000 and any challenges and how you overcome. But I think you've talked about how you overcome your challenges. So just talk about the first three. I think Edith, we lost her a bit. She's still connecting back. And I would like to move to Sahiba. Sahiba, you're here with me. At least I can see you. Yeah. Let me, just a second, please. And some of our questions are not so clear. There's someone asking if you can share any resources for tools or resources for women entrepreneurs, sourcing markets, financing investments. I think this is general for all of us, for all the speakers. There's someone from Tanzania, and they would like to know how e-commerce will improve a smallholder farmer from Africa, and how a smallholder farmer will engage. I think this question would go to Sahiba, who also has experience around e-commerce.
Sure. So the e-commerce space is growing in Tanzania, but I would also say that it's very much in its early stages. So recently we've seen the rise of a platform that's called Duka Direct, which connects buyers with sellers. So they have, you know, all sorts of people selling all sorts of things that can list themselves on their app. So they vet, obviously, the kind of suppliers that they allow to be on there. And, you know, you can then reach people because this is only based in Dar es Salaam, and Dar es Salaam is huge. So you can reach people in the corners of Dar es Salaam that you wouldn't be able to reach with, for example, your own drivers or your own riders, to be able to supply your goods to them. So I can imagine that, you know, if this person has a really good proposal for how smallholder farmers can be connected, you know, with people who would be interested in what they have to sell, then these types of platforms would be amazing. In fact, I think Duka Direct does work with some local producers who grow food and, you know, allow them to list their products on, so people can buy their vegetables, their fruit from this platform. So I would say, instead of reinventing the wheel to come up with a whole nother website, this company is huge. They've got all the funding to really market their app. So I'm not sure if you're not in Tanzania, if you're not in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, if you're in another area, then perhaps you could speak with this company and see how maybe you could help them to reach the areas that you're in. But yeah, it's definitely a growing space. And I think employing tech to do business is really the way to go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sahiba. I want to move to Monica. There's an interesting question here for you, Monica. As a lawyer, did the name Java Foods cause you any issues in registration with other Java brands outside Zambia? Or is it this part of the global Java?
It's an interesting question. So the answer is no. In Zambia, there weren't any other Java Foods or Java brands or registered as a company. And I think that it's really important to distinguish the name of the company from the name of the brands. So with many companies, you have a brand, a name of a company, and then underneath the company, you would have all the brand names. So Easy is actually the name of our instant noodle brand, and it is registered in 8 countries across Southern Africa and owned by us. We own the brand name. And we have another brand called Super Cereal, and the same thing we also have registered in the various countries. The company name is called Java Foods, and they are different. I'm sure in East Africa there might be a Java house, but we're actually very different, and we sell different things. And so far, it has not caused any problems because it's just the name of the company. It's really the brands that drive the product.
Great, thank you so much. I hope whoever asked that is convinced with your answer. And I think the fact that you're a lawyer, you must have done your due diligence to know that you're not going to have issues. Matthew Abam asked some 2 questions but I think these are general to both of you. Nobody has been named particularly. In your experience, what are the challenges of involving women and youth within your business or supply chain? I will start with you, Sahiba, to answer that question.
So I won't lie that, you know, as women, I think you brought it up a few minutes ago, Winnie, that, you know, women have lots and lots of responsibilities. And so, you know, when you are taking on this role of employing primarily women like we have, it definitely comes with its challenges where, you know, the women will have to ask for leave for excuses that are ranging from their family, you know, their relatives, their home situation. And it can be really challenging, but I think what we've really tried to do is to foster within the company this sense of belongingness, that this is somewhere that is a safe place for you. So we are very, very lenient when it comes to these types of excuses, because I don't think they're just excuses. As a woman myself, I'm able to empathize. I'm a new mom now, so, you know, I have a small baby. I understand, you know, how difficult it can be to juggle family life when your family is growing, especially with business and work. Now, I have the privilege of working whatever hours are convenient for myself from whichever location are convenient for myself. So it's very important for me to kind of offer that same sort of consideration to my employees. So I think a lot of times we've actually made the decision to pay a little extra for extra laborers, just so that when certain women cannot attend, their jobs, that work still goes on. And because we are a social enterprise, and because this is one of our core values as a company, we are willing to support these women through these challenges. And I know a lot of businesses that are not doing that because their focus is money and results and efficiency. And those are great to make a successful business, but we believe that what makes our company stand apart, and what really helps to create this sense of loyalty within the women that work with us, that, we've had some of them telling us, I'm going to die with Rosho, because they love working with us, because they feel safe. We give them interest-free loans as and when they need, and they can pay as and when they can. We pay them a lot more than the minimum working wage. And because of this, you also now as a company are winning, because these employees of yours are more loyal to you. They will not leave the job suddenly, and you can trust them more because you make them feel like family.
Thank you so much. I think I will not ask Monica to answer that question. I think you've done well with it. And I'll just give you another question, Monica. How has climate change impacted your approach to business strategy? Because we are dealing in agriculture, and climate change is something we cannot avoid.
And it's something we have to be talking.
What would you say?
Yeah, no, it's something that is at the forefront for us here, because we're in the agribusiness value chain. We're having to actually look at understanding what's happening to our raw materials, whether or not we're actually going to get the quantity and the quality that we need for production. If we now need to be looking at more resistant, climate resistant crops and making new recipes, it's a discussion we're having with some of our partners, so that we don't get surprised if some of our raw materials become too expensive because of the impact of climate change. So it is a discussion we constantly have to see what other raw materials we can be using in our supply chain. Also, we're looking at things around recycling. We have a lot of paper for our boxes, sometimes a bit of plastic, what we're doing with those, and also around energy as well, to see, and we actually have a boiler on our premises. How can we be using other fuels, which are much more environmentally friendly, to make sure that we reduce the use of coal in our boiler as well? And this is all being done because we are very conscious of what's happening in the environment as well. So recycling, alternative uses of energy, as well as alternative raw materials to make products.
Yeah, thank you so much about that. Yeah, we need to be cognizant of the climate change and the dynamics around that, and especially how it can impact our agribusinesses. One last question for both of you is about adapting to technology advancement. We have Edward asking, do you face any challenge, any barriers as female entrepreneurs in terms of accessing and adopting new technology in your businesses? This is for both of you, and probably Monica, you can take it up and then we can finish up with Sahiba.
Sure, it's something that I know, Sahiba, you talked about this, about using a lot of technology around marketing, but what we're also doing is trying to use technology much more to reach the consumer, to see if we can use platforms to sell the products. And this actually came out of COVID, out of necessity, because we couldn't actually reach our customers through delivery. And we began to explore other means of selling our products online. But I think the question was around barriers. I think the biggest barrier for us has been to make sure that they actually are able to, that they work, that we're able to get paid for the product, that people are able to pay. So sometimes that's a bit difficult, particularly if you're not in the country where you're selling. I think that's been very difficult, and that there's too few of them. I think it'll be great in other countries, particularly in the West, where there's so many platforms for technology for sale of products. It's probably a lot easier, and they're so big. So I think Amazon is one example which works significantly, and you can actually be coached as a supplier on how to use their platform. And I think that's kind of what's missing on the continent, where we have that kind of such a large platform to sell our goods on a platform which allows for easy sale and delivery of products. But I think for us, that would be the barrier, sort of understanding them, having access to them, and understanding how they work for our benefit. So I think as time grows, as more technology platforms are growing, I think it will hopefully become a lot easier.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think Sahiba already talked so much about, you know, the e-commerce issues that they already adopted, but probably from being a female entrepreneur, what particular barriers have you faced in that space?
So I'd just like to add on to whatever Monica said first as well. We've also tried to employ tech within our factory. So that's been a huge win for us in the past year, where we've been able to really establish a system that uses a software that allows us to track our input and our output, because we were really struggling to understand is how much we're producing actually matching with how much stock we are buying. Because there sometimes you worry that there might be a discrepancy. How do you track that? So yeah, we were able to work with a local company that uses a software that's international, and you know, they tailor it to the needs of your business. It's quite expensive, but I think if you're able to invest in something like that, it could be game changing, because from a glance you can know how much stock you've got. You know, it's much easier to order stuff then, because sometimes you don't realize when a certain ingredient, for example, has gone low. But if you have everything literally on your phone, on your computer, then you're able to quickly have a look at, see the situation that's going on. But as a female, I'm not too sure that I can say that I've faced challenges personally based on that. But I think a huge reason why that would be is because my husband is my co-founder, so there is a male involved in the business. And you know, I think some things as a woman for me have been very daunting as well, you know, to venture into, to speak to certain types of people. So I'm really blessed that you know, I have my husband by my side, who is able to take on those things that I'm not able to do, and that's whom I've spoken.
We lost you, Sahiba. You're kind of frozen. Can you hear us? Monica, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I think we lost Sahiba a little bit.
And it was such a great point she was making, just about using data and technology to understand operations. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she even dropped off, but I think she'd made most of the points. Yeah, I've just come across another question, though we are right at the end. Can see someone put their question in the chat instead of the right place for the questions. And let me just see if it's moved. Yeah, he's asking about, actually this one want to invite you to the Association of Environmentalists as climate advocates and sustainable agricultural practices promoters to share your expertise with the youth-led impact drive. Well, that's a request, not a question, so we probably won't answer that at the moment. Yeah, but of course we also use these platforms for networking. Sorry, Sahiba, we lost you a few moments ago.
Yeah,
you were making a really great point there. And I think we are coming to the tail end of this. Someone had asked about your engagement with youth, but I think all along as you made your presentations, unless they joined us late, you already talked about how you're involving you know, both women and youth in your ventures. And I think that makes perfect sense on how you're making sure that this population is not left out in your business ventures. So with that, I would just like to say a big thank you, unless there are any burning questions in the chat, which I haven't seen. And as we wind up, what are your parting shots in 1 minute each? And would I have Sahiba go first? What is your parting shot from what we've had today?
So I think I would really say to any fellow females who are looking to start a business, I think it was Elon Musk who said that if you wait until your product is 100% ready, then it's already too late. So just take the leap. As soon as you have an idea, try, because a great strategy to have is fail fast. So if you're not sure that something is going to work, don't get paralyzed by the analysis, and just give it a short try. If you fail, you're going to fail really fast, and you're going to move on from there, and then you can go on to the next thing. So keep faith, trust in God, and just do what you can and try.
Thank you so much. It's about when you have an idea, go for it, don't sleep on it, okay? Monica, what are your parting shots?
Yeah, I think just to add on to what Sahiba said, which is really, really great. I think what we have to do is look much more positively about the role women are playing now in the agribusiness value chain, and really congratulate all the women who have come this far, because it's definitely not been easy. But what we're seeing a lot more now is a lot more women sitting up and taking the step forward. And so don't be discouraged by it. And maybe the first time it won't work, but also be open to what is around us. I think what we are seeing a lot more now is a lot more positive focus on women-run businesses in the agribusiness value chain. And I did forget to mention this, to talk about what FAO, which is part of the African Development Bank, is doing with women, and really putting money where their mouth is to support women through not just financing, but even on the technical side, to really prepare women to scale. I mean, this is a sector where we see so many women participating in, and at least what we're seeing is people recognizing that women need the support. And so we look forward. I mean, and Agra, thank you very much for giving us this platform to share, because 10 years ago, it wasn't like this. We weren't being invited, what we had to talk about wasn't important. But the fact is that you had 3 really great women in completely different sectors, in different parts of the continent, talking about their experiences, because it's that important to really move the dial on agriculture. So thank you for all that Agra you're doing, for even FAO, what they do with the African Development Bank, and all the other grant agencies and financial institutions that are really supporting women grow.
Thank you so much, Monica. I see we have Edith back. Edith, if you could just give us, your final shots as we close this session.
Thank you. So what I can say is that there are several ups and downs in business, and you cannot eliminate mistakes. They are indeed an entrepreneur schoolmaster. It teaches you what will work and what will not work. So from my point of view, the fact that you made a mistake, that doesn't mean that you should stop, and you shouldn't be afraid to start. There are a lot of women out there who want to start a business, especially they want to go into the poultry, but the fear of losing their best, the fear of losing their investment is preventing them. If you don't make the mistake, you won't learn. As an entrepreneur, the business field is where you learn and where you are able to gain the experience to build your business. If you let fear consume you, you won't be able to do anything. And also in this century, no continent should be left out technologically. I know I didn't get time to really speak about because of the internet issues. But exploring high technology and advancement in Africa, in my view, should be tied to the extent to which we can maximize our resources to meet the ordinary citizens. Agriculture is our largest blessing and wealth. Paying more attention to it, from my view, is a key. When every mineral fails, African soil will not fail. African soil will still be there. So I think a lot of attention should be paid to African agriculture, especially in technology and software.
Yeah, thank you so much. Those are great insights as parting shots. We see the potential we have as a continent, and especially the involvement of women who I say are already involved in agriculture. You are not coming in this space for the first time. It's just about identifying the opportunities that can help you grow, grab it and go for it. I've also learned today that your idea is no idea unless you implement it. So it doesn't matter how many times we fail, but we keep trying. So thank you so much, ladies. It has been great having you. Sorry, Edith, for the connection challenges. We hope that next time we meet, we'll be in a better connectivity space. And just looking forward to interacting with you a little bit more. So thank you so much. And to our audience, thanks a lot for making time to be with us today. And even as we conclude, you remember one of the panelists is a beneficiary of VALUE4HER. At the moment, the applications have already been put out. They are out there in our social media handles. And we are requesting that all African women out there in entrepreneurship kindly make time, make your application on the VALUE4HER. You never know, you could just be the next woman winning this award, among the next women winning this award this year. You will be recognized as a winner. And more so, what is important is that you will have, access some, some level of funding to expand your business, to grow your business, and just do those things that you need to do to grow your business. So we are welcoming you to be part of the VALUE4HER movement. Until next time, thank you so much. We are looking forward to as many applications as we can.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.